No one else was in the room where it happened, the room where it happened, the room where it happened. Well, these guys were, but there's not really much to say about them. Today's episode is going to bring this Founding Fathers series to a close with a twofer on James Madison and John Jay, both of whom were involved in the writings of the Federalist Papers under the collective pseudonym Publius. John Jay ended up writing 5 essays, while Madison wrote 29. Madison was born at Belle Grove Plantation in Port Conway, Virginia, March 16, 1751. John Jay was born December 23, 1745, in New York, New York. Madison was a Democratic Republican, while John Jay was part of the Federalist Party. It's interesting to think that members of different political parties can work in tandem to argue for a common goal.
Inconceivable!
Their goal with the Federalist Papers was to promote the ratification of the United States Constitution, without which we wouldn't have these basic human rights that some of us are still fighting for today. John Jay was known as being an abolitionist, while James Madison, rather than argue for the end of slavery, couched it in coded language, rewriting the text to say, a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 per person. Harvard Law professor Noah Feldman wrote, Madison's position reflected the contorted moral logic of slaveholders, enacting a slavery-protecting constitution while claiming to oppose that very institution. While Jay was known for abolitionism, he did it in a very odd way. He was founder of the Manumission Society, but despite this, the 1790 and 1800 census recorded him as owning 5 slaves and 1 slave in 1810. He continued buying slaves and set them free, but only once he considered their work to have afforded a reasonable retribution. In other words, I own you until you prove you're worthy of being free. As governor of New York in 1799, he signed into law an act for the gradual abolition of slavery. An act that from July 4th of that year would mean that all children born to slave parents would be free, subject to lengthy apprenticeships, and that slave exports would be prohibited. But the catch was that children of the slave mother would still have to serve their mother's owner until they were 28 for boys and 25 for girls. Despite this dark history, these two men were known as Founding Fathers because at the ages of 31 and 25 for Madison and Jay respectively, they stood up against a tyrannical monarchy that was imposing their will on a fledgling nation across the ocean. It is the duty of all humans, not just Americans, but all humans, to speak out against injustice and prejudice. It's important for our children that we make a better world for them. Instead of having the mindset of, well, I'm dying soon, so it doesn't matter, we should be advocating for our next generation. I think that's why the Founding Fathers are revered as they are, because they thought about the future. They were slave owners. They were cheaters. They were genocidal and completely imperfect. But what human isn't full of flaws? They started a nation. They were patriots. If we take nothing else from these men of stature, we should take away the idea of caring about our country and the people in it. Ideas evolve, and the idea today can be that we all matter, but we should all fight for those that need it most. Black lives do matter. That doesn't mean that mine doesn't, but my life isn't under constant threat. We are all in this together. I'll see you next time.